All right, friends. So you have your willow. What do you do with it? Well, we have harvested it in 12-inch, roughly 12-inch sticks to make it more manageable for you. You are going to need a knife of some sort. Pocket knives are going to be best, but a kitchen knife will do. You want to make sure that you're not going to scratch your counter or wherever you're working. Typically I'd work outside, but right now it's super windy out. So I am gonna work inside and just show you what I'm doing here. So basically I'm gonna lightly shave off the outer bark, and it's gonna reveal this whitish green. Right now it looks green, but it will, once we get down another layer, it's gonna look more white. So I kind of go around. You don't want to go too deep because then you're going to get some of the white, and that's the part you want. Now, why do we want that center part or inner bark? Well, we want that because that has the highest amount of I'm so bad with pronunciation, but it's the ingredient of aspirin. I called it salicylum for a long time, but that's not it. It's salum, I think. Don't quote me on that. So we've gotten down to that inner bark, and whatever scraps I have of the outer bark, you can use that if you want. It's just not going to have as high of the aspirin content. So I kind of discard that. Now in my herbal learning class, I told them I do use it. I'm just going to use more. I'm going to use this, and then I'll throw that in because some of the inner bark is on the outer bark. So I know it's going to have some medicinal properties, and I really hate throwing anything out. But again, if you want it to be super strong, this is the part that you want, and it's that inner bark. So you'll see we're revealing more of the white underneath, and this is the part that you're going to want to dry and store. So you're going to go through and you are going to shave all of this. You'll start to notice the difference between the bark because it starts to get super woody. So you can get the white inner bark, but then once it gets down to like a really woody part, you're not going to want that anymore. But all of this is really good, whether it's green or white. And you're going to dry this out. And once you get to this point too, if you've already shaved, you can peel some of that outer bark off instead of using your knife. As long as the cuts aren't too deep, because again, you don't want to take too much off because you want to harvest that inner bark. But you're going to dry this, whether you dry it on a dehydrator or set it out for several days. Bark is easy to dry, so you can put it on paper towels and just leave it out. As long as it's not humid, then you should be fine. You can dry it in the oven with the oven open at the lowest temperature, and just keep checking on it and flipping it to make sure you're not actually cooking it. Or you use the dehydrator, and typically on the dehydrator we want to keep the setting kind of on the lower side, so under 120. A lot of times we have our set somewhere around 105. It just depends. I mean, you keep checking it and you alter if it's not drying quick enough, you might raise it a little bit, but you don't want it to be too high because you want to have as much of the medicinal property as possible. Or you could, if you're not going to process it and store it, you could go ahead and start making medicine with it. So even this fresh willow, you can make tincture if you wanted to use it internally. If you want to use it for a salve, I would let it sit out for a day because it does have that moisture content. You can feel how moist it is. So let it sit out for a day, and then you can start infusing your oil. One of the best things to make with willow is going to be a salve. And that salve is going to be great for all of your joints, pains, aches. If you have kids, what they call growing pains. But if you have achy joints or you just have any kind of pain, this is a great topical to put on that pain. And then when you're done, you end up with this beautiful white stick. You can either throw it in the fire for kindling, or you can make a cool craft with it. Some people use the smaller ones for chopsticks. They'll whittle them down a little bit more and use them for chopsticks. or macrame, anything you want to use.